Stayed for about, you know, too long. Give me hours. I want to make money. We done with Subway. Hi guys, I posted a video about my first day at Subway, closing shift at Subway, all that stuff. As you can guess, I'm wearing a Subway shirt. I'm gonna be talking about it. I'm gonna share my experience about it and why I quit and why I don't work there anymore, because I saw a lot of questions on it and I thought maybe try to answer some here. Help you guys out. Some of you started working at Subway, so let's get it. Let's start. Okay, so the main thing that a lot of people don't know is when you work at Subway, you only make minimum wage. Now this does depend on where you're at. Personally, it was like $9.25. So yeah, that is one thing. I also worked at Subway for like 2-3 years or something like that, and you can't really move up in the company. It's very hard. I never got a raise. I never got moved up to even like 10 an hour. Or me personally, that's one of the reasons that I did quit, is because I wanted to be able to move up to different positions, maybe get some manager experience under my belt. And at one point, because of it being minimum wage, I had to work 2 jobs, so I was working Dunkin' and Subway at one time, and that was an experience and a half. Keep that in mind, minimum wage, and you can't really move up too well. One other big thing is that most of the time you're working with one other person, and let me tell you, this makes or breaks your shift. I have worked many different Subways because they're all basically owned by the same person. I'll get into that later on in the video. I remember there was one Subway I used to have to work like a mid shift, and for the most part I was by myself because it was a very close one. It was like a Subway connected to a gas station. Have you ever seen that? I was pretty much by myself for the entirety of the shift, but then she would come in to close. She was one of those girls that's like really annoying, and you didn't ever want to work with them. And I then told my manager I didn't want to work that shift. Basically never had to see her again. My manager took me off the shift. It just, then at the other store that I primarily worked at, me and this girl were really chill. We had like really cool conversations. Keep that in mind if you're a person that you can't get along with basically everybody, because I kind of can. I've never seen especially in a workplace, I can pretty much get along with people, but if that's something you can't do, keep that in mind, because you work with one other person. Unless you're like the support shift, because if you're the support shift, I'll get into what that means later, but if you were support shift, you were there with 2 other people, but eventually like towards the end of your shift, that other person would leave too. So also to kind of keep in mind with the whole working with another person, I would close by myself. So basically you would have somebody there until you got to past dinner rush, which was like 7:30, 8 o'clock. That person would leave, and then you would close the store by yourself. That is also before COVID. Because of COVID, we would start closing at 8 instead of 10. So the training is the biggest thing a lot of people ask me about. For me personally, at my Subway, and I know it's different, they slowly work me into everything. They had me, it was 2 weeks where I was with 2 people instead of just the one. So you basically have the 2 people that are fully trained, know what they're doing, and you kind of just watch. You sit there, well, you stand there and you watch for your shift. I would only go in for 2.5 to 3 hours for that section, or for that 2 weeks, and then I was put on support shifts, which would be like 11 to 3s or 11 to 4s or 12 5s, stuff like that. In a support shift, basically you have your opener, support shift, mid, support shift, and close. So they kind of come in and they do that little bit of time where like you might be busy, but like most likely not, before your bigger shifts, because open would work to like 1, mid or afternoon would work to like 7. Like those are the bigger shifts, where the support shifts weren't as big. They were typically left to the high schoolers that couldn't work that many hours. During those 2 weeks, they slowly showed me the cash register. They slowly showed me, god dang, showed me the formulas, how everything worked, how prepped worked in the back, and all of that stuff. And it was a very gradual, like, well, into the job. Also, me personally, they gave me a formula sheet for all of your subs, like your BMTs, and I would go home, I studied the formula, so I had it down and ready to go. That was kind of how my training went. So another thing that kind of goes along with working with one other person is you will notice that at Subway, there are only like 6 to 7 people hired into the job at a time, because you don't need that many people working, because it's a very, very slow work environment. And this is one of the things that I couldn't deal associate with. It's not very busy. You know, you get your lunch rushes, you get your dinner rushes, but they're not that bad. That's one of the reasons that I'm happy I'm back in my bowling alley job. They don't show up. I used to have to stay. I remember though, it was very rare for me to get support shift, and every time I got support shift, somebody called off and I had to stay till close. Another thing with there not being that many employees, weirdly, you still don't get that many hours. One of the reasons I did quit is because I had asked to be full-time, which was like 35 to 40 hours. I was an open schedule, I was online college, and they gave me maybe 25 hours a week. And I said, well, not on minimum wage, you really ain't doing that. Obviously that does differ between subways. Some subways probably give you more hours. I know people who have worked at different subways than me have been like, well, I could get overtime. Give me hours. I want to make money. Didn't get a lot of hours. I still did get moved. By the way, if you do have that where your manager owns more than one subway, you can tell them, I don't want moved. I don't want to go to a different one. I personally liked working the 3 because I get to meet more people, and most of the time when I didn't work the main one, we'll put it down this way. So there's 3 subways that I worked at with under one manager. The one that I primarily worked at was our busiest one, and they always had 2 people on shift, 2 people closing, everything like that. But there were 2 other subways that were like rarely busy. One even to this day is now shut down because it's so busy and is a or a nail salon now. So whenever I got sent to one of the other 2 subways that weren't that busy, I was basically by myself working, closing by myself, doing, you know, certain little mid shifts by myself most of the time. They asked me before they sent me off, they're like, do you want to go anywhere else, or do you want to just stay at this one? And I said, I don't care, give me hours, give me money. Also, a random little question I saw is, I believe the minimum age to work at Subway is 15. Someone was asking if you could be 13. Unfortunately, you do have to be 15. You do have to have like a work permit and stuff. I started working at Subway, I think I was 16, almost 17, and didn't leave till I was like basically almost 20. It was like a month before my 20th birthday. Too long. That's basically everything I have to say about working at Subway. If there's any more questions you guys want to know, let me know, because I remember I worked there for, so if you guys have them, leave them down below and I can do it part 2 to this video if you want. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope this helped. If you are starting at Subway, it's not a hard job. I understand that training can affect you, any job, but once you get it down, I promise you, you'll be able to make a sandwich 5 seconds. Probably not 5 seconds, but you can try. If you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It would mean a lot to me. Also, if you guys aren't subscribed, feel free to hit that subscribe button down below. It's free and it would mean a lot to me. I'm just saying. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.